Today, I get tired of my camera mount and build a new one. Here's the mount as it is currently. It's got the little GoPro stand on there. I'm going to build a new system using some threaded rod and some scrap aluminum that I've got in my pile here. So here's the new camera, or phone, or whatever we're going to call it. Its sole duty is just going to be video recording. So we're going to have to make a bracket that fits down the sides and holds it. I'm thinking a loop over the top with some threaded rod going up to the mount should give me some adjustability, and it should be pretty solid. So let's see if I can dig up the scrap here. So here's what I've come up with. I've got some leftover angle aluminum, some threaded rod here, and a little bit of aluminum bar stock, and it's already got some screws in it. This was left over from a fan that I installed on the DJ5. Unfortunately, these bent too much, and you can see where the fan dug into it and just destroyed the blades. So I had to buy a new fan and build a new shroud. We'll cover that some other time. At any rate, here's our materials. So I want to cut down some lengths of this bar stock so that we can fit the phone like that, and then we'll have another channel down here. And then I'm going to use the flat bar to build a hanger to go over the top. We'll put the threaded rod through that with a nut up on the mount on the top. So without further ado, let's break out the hacksaw. Alright, so I've marked two lengths here that are going to be used to hold each side of the phone up. So we're going to have it sitting like this, like so. And then I'm going to build the little carriage top, or whatever you want to call it, over here. So I'm going to cut these first, and I get to use the hacksaw. Yes, hacksaw. Alright, we have our angle aluminum clamped down, so we're going to go at it with the old hacksaw. I don't know if you can see it very well, but the center section of that is pretty well worn. So let's hope this goes pretty good. I have my doubts. Yeah, it's not terrible. All right, piece two. All right, and our second cut. There we go. Two pieces of aluminum bracket. All right, we've got our pieces cut here. I've got them clamped in. I'm going to try and clean up the edge here, just so that they're the same length and angle and everything. There we go, not bad. Now let's get the strap that goes over the top together, and we can get them tied together. All right, we've got our angle brackets cut to length and filed off. So now we're going to use some of this flat bar and build a carriage or arch to go over these, so that we can take our new camera phone, or lay it between there. And we're going to give it probably another, 1/8 of an inch or so of space around it, in case I want to go with a different phone style or need to make some minor adjustments. It just gives me a little bit of playroom. So we'll have it like that, and then this bent up and over, and then screwed in on the sides with a hole in the top for the threaded rod. So we're going to need to make some measurements. So let's see, if I want to bring that up, let's see, height-wise, doesn't have to be very high, give me a little bit of room. Let's call it 2 inches. So 2 inches up, there we go, 2 inches up. Let's see, our total distance over will be almost exactly 3.5, and then another 2 inches down this way. So 2, 3.5, 5.5, 2, we need 7.5 total inches on this guy. There's our 7.5 inches. I'm going to cut that off using the trusty hacksaw. You may be asking, why a hacksaw? Why not some sort of power tool? My answer to you would be, I would love to, but I don't have a power tool handy that will do that. I am very much some dude in his garage screwing around. So for now, we're stuck with this. Oh, that's moving too much. Well, we'll have to clamp it down twice. Oh, it's coming out of the front one too. That's great. Yeah, doing this at home is most definitely not like the TV shows. Things do not go right the first time. Almost ever. But that's also part of the charm of the DIY, is it not? There we go. So there's our 7.5 inch piece. So we're going to go in 2 inches from each side. One, two. And that's where we need to make our bends. Now, aluminum's pretty soft. You can get away with bending it once, generally. Just don't really torque on it or you might break it off. But once you've bent it, you're not going to bend it back, at least not more than maybe once or twice. Otherwise, it'll just crack and break in half on you. So you better get this right the first time. So what I'm going to do this is put it on this wood edge. I like the wood a little bit because it will give. It's not as hard of an edge as a steel would be. So it'll give it a little more of a curve in there instead of making a hard angle. So I'm going to try to line it up on my top here. I'll put it right in the middle of the wood. Try to get it perpendicular with our table here. That's good. So here I have my first bend done. There's my mark that I wrote on there. The way I do it is that bend goes on the top of the table where I can see it. And that way the arch starts right at the back of that line. So now we're going to bend up our other side on this mark. And then we'll have our arch done. So I'll line up the mark right with the edge of my table and clamp it on the same spot. We want this to be a tight bend, so try to keep your pressure as close to your lip of your table here as possible. And then when your luck runs out, like mine does, you end up hitting the threads on the underside of the table. Perfect. Well, crap. Well, we've already started the bend. Let's see if we can do it by hand. Come on, aluminum. Alright, so we're going to have to come at it from the top. But we've got the bend started, so it shouldn't be too bad. There we go. And get yourself a hammer and a few gentle love taps so you can get that edge nice and bent over. There you have it. One arch. So that will fit just like that. Hold up our phone. So now I'm going to have to measure to center this up, and then we will drill out the holes for the metal screws. So we have our brackets bent up, our top mounting brace ready to go. So now we have to mark the centers of our brackets here, and then I'm going to attach that over the top like so, centered. Now the original plan was to use some of these self-tapping sheet metal screws. These work really well and super easy. The only problem is, since I have to mount, I've measured to mount this on the outside, if I put it on the outside, I can't get a drill in there to drill it out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use a drill bit, and I'm going to drill a hole in the aluminum. I'm actually going to use some of these coarse thread computer screws. I've actually done it several times before, and it works pretty well. You use it's like the ones you'd mount a hard drive or a motherboard with. They're harder than the aluminum, as long as you don't have aluminum screws. And you can actually, as long as you get the hole close, you can just screw it in and it's almost self-tapping. Again, it's not holding any heavy loads, it's just a phone. It'll be fine for our purposes. So, it's time to start drilling these out. So I'm going to start by drilling out the holes on the ends of this bracket that goes over the top. There we go. And then we'll clean out the excess. If you got the little shavings and rough edges, get those out of there. It's just going to make a mess and make it harder to get your screw in. Do the other side. End up centered. Yep. There we go. One drilled bracket. What I want to do, we'll line it up with our mark. We're going to the back side, and there's our hole. We'll mark our hole. We marked it, and we'll drill that out. So I think we'll clean up the hole a little bit there. And we'll do the same on this side. Center it with our mark there. Flip it over. Drill it out. There we go. Cleaned out. And now it should just be a matter of getting the screws in there. Like I said, they're just computer case screws, coarse thread, Phillips screwdriver. You may be tempted to put a drill bit onto this and then try to put these in. Please don't do that. You're going to destroy the threads or the aluminum. It doesn't take much to overpower it. Haha! Enough to bite, but not so much that it's hard to screw in. And the reason I'm going in towards the outside is there's a lot more material on this bridge piece than there is here. So I want all my biting to be done on the thicker material there. There, that's good and solid. Just enough to get the thread to poke out the other side a little bit. That way we can line it up and get that screw started. And just turn until she's tight. Fine adjustments. So now we have a nice little bracket that'll hold our foam for us. So now what we got to do is drill a hole in the middle here, and then we'll add our threaded rod to that. So now we need to find the center of this little bridge piece here. We measure that, 3.5 inches. Half of 3.5 is 1 3/4. Right there. Now for this one, we're going to need a bigger hole because we're just going to be putting the threaded rod through it. We're not looking to thread it in. I'm going to be adding a nut. So we'll have to be the size of this rod. So we'll have to dig around for a bit. Ta-da! This should be almost exactly the size of those threads. So once we clean out the edges of the threads, they should fit right in snug. There's a semi-pro tip for you guys. If you haven't drilled a lot of metal, you'll be able to tell when you're about to pop through when you hear the motor start to wear down, assuming your battery's not dying. But you'll hear it bog down as it starts biting better and better as it starts poking through the back. So when you hear that motor start to bog down, you're almost through. Don't keep putting full force on it at that point. Take it easy. So now our rod fits in. Yep, absolutely perfectly. So now we just need to find a washer and a nut to hold it in there, and we'll be about done with this. So we're going to have to cut this threaded rod to length because this is just going to be way too long. I don't need that much adjustability or depth. So I'm going to bring this up probably right about in half, and we'll just hack that off with the hacksaw too. There we go. Ha! One threaded rod. Thank you. So the edge of our threads are pretty gnarly looking. So I want to get the file and we'll clean those up a little bit too. Get the sharp edges off the top here. And the other end of the machine, the factory end, so we don't have to worry about that one. So now we just need to find a washer and nut that'll fit this. Yep, that's the jar that every man has in his garage. All the spare nuts and bolts from the projects that he made more efficient by not putting them back in. So now we're going to have to dig through this and find some nuts that'll fit our threaded rod here. And I'll bet you're telling yourself, there's no way he's going to pour all that out. He's going to have a better system than that. Right. All right. It should be noted that I don't know that I have the right size in here. It's entirely possible that I don't have any nuts in here that'll fit this. Making this entire effort completely futile. So close. It's the right size, the wrong thread. I'm not sure why that's in there, but I'm sure it's important. And I can just see you at home laughing it up, saying, "What an idiot! He's trying to put it on the end of the shaft that he already screwed up with the file." Well, I thought of that, so I've been trying to use the machined end too. Did find a washer that fits. See, that wasn't so hard. So we did find the pieces that we need. We got one nut with a nylon lock washer built into it, and then we have two wing nuts that'll match this thread. This is going to work. I'll push the rod through the hole there. Nut's locked on the bottom so it can't twist off. An outer wing nut here. There we go. To the bottom. Then we've got our hanger. So now what we have to do is add a hole to our mount here at the top, and that'll let us hang it with the other wing nut from above. So let's drill out that hole. So here we have the completed mount all set up. We've got a nut with a nylock washer on there and a wing nut, so this is easily disassembled or adjusted. So we're going to mount this through a hole up in the top of our little boom here that I built. There's where the GoPro mount is, and then the hole for this new mount. The other one, the GoPro is aimed pretty well, so I'm assuming this spot's going to be pretty good too. Just like so. And we're using a wing nut on the top, so this will be easy to adjust the height up and down depending on how narrow or wide my camera lens is. Something like so. And we'll put the camera in, see how she looks. There we go. Not bad. Yeah, distance doesn't look too bad for everything that we're working with. All right. So I think I want to call this a rousing success. So now the motherboard here, this is going to be in my next project. So I'll be doing that here shortly now that I have a functional camera mount. Well, I'm going to call this project a rousing success. I'm going to see you next time when I start tearing into this, and I'll show you what that's going into. But right now I think it's beer 30 for me. And until next time, gentlemen, keep it running.